Hi, and welcome back to a Pick a Pile tarot reading. Today's video is how to heal the relationship with my father. I have three piles to choose from today. First pile I have is the Moonstone pile. The second pile I have to choose from is a Fluorite pile. And the third pile I have to choose from today is the Garnet pile. So once again, pile number one is the Moonstone pile. Pile number two is the Fluorite pile. And pile number three is the Garnet pile. So, if you would only pick a pile and then join me at your reading, I would very much appreciate it. I'll see you there. Hi, this is pile number one, and therefore it is the Moonstone pile for how to heal the relationship with my father. Let's get into your cards. I have the, who is this? The Eight of Cups? The Eight of Cups, the Nine of Swords, the Hanged Man, the Knight of Wands, the Three of Pentacles, the Queen of Cups, the Knight of Cups, the Chariot, and the Empress. So this reading feels very creative and romantic, but in the realm of arts and beauty and like that idea of romanticism, not like romanticism. So I'm like, what does this have to do with your dad? Who's your dad in all of this? And who are you? So, from what I'm getting from the cards, is that you could potentially be a woman, or yes, a woman, someone that identifies as a woman and therefore a woman. Um, and you're really seeking a new adventure. And there are all of these romantic ideals and decision and desire to be engaged with the arts and creativity and flow and like nature and wonderment. Okay, I just got the word shaman. All right, so we'll have to explore that in the cards. And like generally developing an idea of like oneness and connectedness to nature and beauty and femininity, like maybe something that hasn't really been in your life before. And that is definitely echoed with the Empress card, where she is all about creativity and abundance and one with nature and allowing femininity to flow and be abundant, and how one can be connected to those things and like what that connection can mean for thriving and growing abundance in your own life. This tree in the background didn't look like a tree at all to me. In fact, it looked like a smoke plume. And that's very interesting to me, considering I got the word shaman. And the Empress is a very spiritual person, and her divine connection to the earth and that femininity affords her deep intuition. And I think that intuition and connection and like how do I want to say it, like the growth of the connection to the earth is like used for health and healing purposes. And I know that this isn't a card of fire, but this looking like a smoke plume really reminds me of fire connection, wind connection, the keen awareness it takes to build a fire and to have it be a successful fire, is about connection as well. So I don't know what that's about, but I guess we'll find out more. On the flip side of that, and not really the flip side at all, actually, we have this Queen of Cups character who is also echoing that sentiment of creativity and divinity and overlapping spiritual connectedness and emotional awareness. I wonder actually if what is happening here is there is a lineage connection between you and your family as far as learning um shaman rituals. I don't know how to turn that word into a verb. My apologies. But as learning rituals in the shamanic, is that it? Practice. Um and the connection between you and your father is more about working that out. Like maybe there has actually been some resistance in that for you. Wow, her feet are blue. Do you see that her feet are blue? Like her feet are the water. That's really interesting. Okay, so there's like dimensionality being developed here that I wasn't expecting. Okay, then we have then we have this page of wands who is all about exploration and freedom of the self and the journey that one goes on when they're able to tap into that authenticity and develop their own personality, whether that be in like arts and culture or it be in romance or creativity. um there is like an element of fire that's happening that's really important throughout this thread. And it's almost like, and I know that the Empress isn't technically about fire, but it's almost like these are two sides of the same dynamic where one has control over the mastery of like wind and fire energy and the earth, and the other one has the mastery over the water element. And there needs to be, I guess, an a contribution of teamwork and learning and understanding what all of these really big ideas mean together, because without the willingness for like study and education, there isn't going to be the ability to have the deep relationship that is really required here. And I feel like potentially there is either resistance on the lineage aspect of your father, like potentially there's some substance abuse issues that are preventing full desire to transmit that knowledge to you on his end, or there is like disillusionment that's happening potentially, that is also preventing things from moving forward. But there's some sort of like misstep between the overall like desire and plan for what is needed for you and then what is able to be communicated between the two of you. So I want to talk about the Hanged Man. um this card is really here for when we need to stop and listen. Oh, for when for when we need to stop and listen to the things that are happening around us. So in this regard, this is sometimes that we need to let go of old patterns so that we can bring in new patterns. But this is about listening. This is about understanding. This is about letting go of some sort of cocky bullshit attitude that is again preventing the transmission of information. So the blockage here is communication, and it's almost like, fuck, is your dad a narcissist who's a fucking shamanic healer? Because that sucks. And I don't even know how one can genuinely do that while being a narc. So maybe it's not specific being a narc, but there has been past abuse. Um that hasn't allowed communication to come through. Or that on his end the on his end, the reasons in which he went into the field was not because it is sacred and blessed, but it is because he wants gratitude, not gratitude, but money and fame, and um, he wants people to like fawn over him and worship him for this thing. Like it's almost like a cult leader mentality. So then we have you entering on the scene where you already have these innate abilities and you're supposed to learn these things from your father, but the fact that he's a douche nozzle is making it really hard for you to build this teamwork with him. And so I feel like you actually have to step around him and get to like a mentor sort of situation, someone that he was mentored by, so that you don't actually have to get the knowledge through him. And the fact that you're unwilling to go through him is actually going to be a part of the thing that potentially changes his mind away from um only desiring to be in this profession for recognition. Because on your end, what I'm seeing for you, pile number one, is that your connection to this field is so innate within you. It's like an ancestral blessing where you have the capacity to meld with and work with all of the elements, and like think of Avatar the Last Airbender in such a dramatic way that you don't even necessarily need to be taught by your dad. And I also think that that is what's causing part of the rift, because bro wants that recognition and he's probably always wanted it from you, and that could be causing an issue in your life, not only about this practice but in general, and in how you are able to just form a normal relationship with him that has nothing to do with this practice. um and I mean, I say that because we also have the Knight of Cups, which in this circumstance for you is about taking what you have learned in your intuition and understanding and creatively applying it to the things that follow from your understanding. So I'm envisioning like the development of your own course, um, the capacity to be much larger and renowned and well received than your father figure was. And that is causing like a weird distrust between the two of you, where I feel like you potentially still live with your dad and he has become increasingly like belligerent or arrogant in a way that has made you want to forget everything that's possible. And I feel like you are very quickly going to be getting out of this environment, but you're going to be taking baggage with you. And it is something that you're going to be very able quickly to heal from. But there are, in your case, ancestral wounds that need to be healed through the work that you're doing that are coming up as intimate problems for yourself, like they're your problem, but they're more like being acted out in you that is causing you to not be able, well, not to not be able, but it's causing you these symptoms of unrest and like sleepless nights and like arguments and inability to like align, because it's almost like, specifically with the way that your dad is acting, he's very in this old energy about how to like wow, apparently trap and maim are the words come to mind. Trap and maim and mangle and and be able to manipulate good people um into states of desperation in order to economically take advantage of them, by being like, you need this ritual, you need this healing, you need this retreat, and guess what? I can provide that to you. When initially they had come to see him and none of that was on the table, they were actually a healthy person. You're the individual that is able to sever that, and like rebuild the family name. And so when it comes to this hanged man situation, when I said that listening was really important, there's going to be like communication on the wind that is going to be coming to you with directives and understanding, so that you know how to move, because this is going to kind of it's going to kind of be done in secret. And I think at the end of this, you're going to end up cutting your father off, and it's going to seem like really weird to him because bro's been so far up his ass this whole time that he hasn't stopped to consider that he's been a fucking malicious predator. So that's what I'm seeing with the swords card, is that you're being plagued by thoughts and you're being plagued by memories, that have to do with the work that you need to do, as a shaman when it comes to ritualistic healing and, like protection of the earth and the people that you love. In regard to this Eight of Cups card, I think that this has a lot to do with leaving this relationship and turning your back on times that were never very pleasant for you, and using what you learned in that environment and that relationship to inform the way that you want to move as a shaman. So you're going to be setting up on a new path, essentially. Like the path is still you as a shaman, but the path in what you could have done and what you could not have done is going to be something that you're going to be wrangling in and deciding very quickly. Because I think, like, on one side of this, it's like who your father wants you to be, which is another swindling baddie. And by baddie, I mean bad person. And on the other side is who you want to be, which is non swindling, but somebody who is authentic and honest and desires to help people from a place of um, joy and compassion and empathy, because you know that this is right ethically and morally to help people, not for money. Like, money will obviously be a part of it, but that is not the end goal because you are not predatory. So, if there happens to be like um guilt or a desire to save your dad from the fact that he didn't really learn his lesson in this timeline, I think you're going to become more acutely aware of that as you do your own healing, to remove the wounds that you sustained with this relationship. But also as you understand your practices. And that doesn't have anything to do with you. And I really want to urge you to let that go, because he will never know that unless he decides to know that. And if people are like enabling him because he's so good at manipulating that he doesn't have to change his ways, then that is just what will be happening until we turn a new leaf in this world. And I don't know if bro really wants to turn a new leaf. I think he's made such a success out of being a swindly, greedy monster that he would rather continue to be a swindly, greedy monster. And that's on him, dog. That doesn't have anything to do with you. So, oh, let me show you your oracle cards. Terra deck, as always, not as always, but a lot of the time. I have the toad with greed. I have the jellyfish with Im- simplicity. I have the gazelle with momentum. I have the manatee with compassion. I have the hummingbird with joy. So I want to start with the toad because I feel like this is more of a warning than a warning about who your dad is more than about who you are. The toad has no teeth. They aren't able to chew their food, so instead they swallow it whole. As there's something that you have been trying to swallow whole, greed isn't exclusive to money. Greed is an attitude and a mindset. It is one of lack. There is a fine line between collecting and hoarding. The toad says there is something that you want, feel you need, or desire that is superfluous. If you attempt to swallow it whole, you run the risk of choking. Beware of shiny objects. What do you desire? Why is it calling your name? Without the ability to really bite into your catch, you never stop to appreciate it. Is it possible that you've already caught it, but you just don't know how to recognize its worth? Sometimes greed stems from feelings of not good enough. When the toad feels threatened or afraid, it puffs up and its body becomes big and scary. Are you adding on unnecessary layers as a defense mechanism? Could all of this extra stuff just be a barrier between you and the world around you? Greed is not a trait particular to those who've lost their way. We all participate in it. We all get caught up in desire to serve only us. What's important is that you catch them as they come so you can differentiate what you genuinely need from what you merely want. So, just a thing. I always joke and say that if I was just a little bit different, that I could become a very persuasive cult leader. I have it in me. I really like cults. I was raised by a narcissistic woman. That was my introduction into being a cult member. Why not just transfer what I learned from that person into my reality and become the lord of my own domain? In that way, that's like that greed, that like desire to build an empire, that need for security based on like owning things and owning people is really a lot of the energy that I'm feeling from your dad in this circumstance. And I feel like you've been given the information to not to onto what not to do, meaning that bro has given you this example, and it's really important that you don't follow that example. It is something that you know, and therefore it is easy to do the things that we know. But this is a warning that doing what you know is going to lead to turmoil and downfall, aka the choking. So, the moon jelly with simplicity. I already have a feeling what this is about, but we will read some of the words. So, the moon jelly with simplicity. Um, There are few creatures as fascinating in their ephemerality as the jellyfish. Translucent and liquid, they seem to glide effortlessly through the water, barely there. The moon jelly requests that you purge and reduce, adopting the mindset of less is more. What have you allowed to build up in your life, and what can you do to trim back down to simplicity? This card appears when you need to fully integrate into your current situation, but you won't be able to move freely into it lugging surplus around. Ask yourself what you really need right now and what is adding unnecessary complexity to your life. If something doesn't make you happy and help you grow and thrive, then why are you carrying it with you? So that for me, in your reading, is about the eventuality of you cutting your dad out of your life. I think that you're gonna end up going no contact with this person. I feel like he's got a really insidious nature, and that he disguises it with um with the fact that he's very knowledgeable spiritually, but it's almost like bro's doing some like black magic bullshit. And I think there has been a healthy dose of fear from him in your life, and a healthy dose of curiosity from him that has made him like a friend that you're afraid of, that you keep around because you know that if you cut them off and you still have to see them every day, it's going to end up being much more chaotic and tormenting for you. So think about that. And yes, let's move on to the gazelle with momentum. So we have the gazelle with momentum. The agile runner also participates in another behavior that launches them forward and says to the predators, "Come catch me if you can." This behavior, called stotting, happens when the gazelle lifts all 4 feet off the ground in a sudden pounce. When we get in a good momentum, we can feel on top of the world. Harness moments of energy to launch yourself forward. The gazelle can enter your reading when the speed of things can be dizzying. If it feels like life has thrown you on a crazy ride, make the most of it. Don't try and jump off. You can't slow things down no matter what you might want to do. So I just want to reference the chariot when it comes to this momentum. I already feel like you are in a place where you are moving forward. Also, where I'm sitting, I can see part of the sunset right now, not all of it, because unfortunately, I live next to a house that also lives next to a house that lives next to a house. But the sky is beautiful and just a lovely bright orange with some blue. And if you're out there in the world right now watching this tarot reading, look out your window and enjoy the nature. So the chariot and this gazelle for momentum. The chariot is very chaotic energy, and like this dude on the chariot is trying to harness like two sides, two different energies to create one path, right? Which is where other momentum is needed, and the ability to like suss out exactly what it is that he needs in order to choose path A or path B, so that he can get his chariot going in one direction, because right now it feels like he's being pulled apart. So I think that there's going to be force created in this decision, and for you to move forward, potentially cut him off, either align yourself with somebody new, like potentially meeting somebody new and living with them and starting this life for yourself. Like maybe there's a mentorship program, or like you're going to another country, or like one of those woo woo schools that they have. I don't I don't know what they're called. I'm so sorry. Where you can learn these practices like head on, and like you're not going to be in any contact with your father, and whatever is happening, it's going to be very momentous, and it's going to use a lot of your energy, and it may make you feel really frantic, which I think is the other side of this gazelle card, because obviously bro's being chased to death and he doesn't want to get eaten, which is making him fight for his life. But I feel like your relationship with your dad is a little bit of you fighting for your life, both spiritually and emotionally and physically, because there's something about this man's presence that is very unwelcoming. So that's exciting, but also pretty interesting. Okay, let's look at the manatee with compassion. Whoop, the manatee. The manatee. The manatee. Perhaps the most important word there is compassion. Is not just essential, but it is the very breath of life. This is what lives at the center of everything. The manatee is a guide for compassion because it is an expert in the first steps, slowing down and stepping back. While the manatee could move faster, it prefers to simply cruise through ocean waters. This card is a sign that you need to take your foot off the gas and look around to where you are. Compassion occurs in simply being present and aware both for yourself and others. When you come to a stop, you might see that you have not been fully present. You need to take extra time now to experience compassion, even when it's challenging. Yeah, compassion and grace and accepting where you are, where you've come from, what you're doing, what you've done. And there will be a time when healing from the relationship with your father, that you will look at him not through the eyes of anger or disillusionment, but through the eyes of compassion, and understand that bro was just doing the best that he could, even though it wasn't enough for you. But that will be very helpful, and letting go of anger, because I don't think that you can really practice um, these these rites, these rituals in a state of anger. The greatest enemy of compassion is often our big brains. Despite the amazing capacity of the human brain, our greatest enemy is often the power of our own mind. Thinking can become a dangerous and destructive force when not coupled with emotion. The manatee's brain is much smaller than other animals their size, but this does not mean that they aren't intelligent creatures. The sea cows have been known to tackle the same challenges as dolphins. The difference is that the manatee moves slower and isn't motivated by food. The manatee tells you to quiet your mind and tap into the rest of your senses. The compassion required in your okay, so tap into the rest of your senses. You need all of your senses for this thing. You need all of your senses for this thing. So this and this can't be baggage that you keep for a long time. And that isn't to say that you can't take as long as you need to deal with your trauma and the nonsense, but to move forward in the practice, this has got to go. This has got to go. And I'm not saying that to like rush you. Literally, it will take as long as it takes, and you'll step into things when you're supposed to step into them. But the compassion and understanding too, for the recognition that the journey that you're on takes as long as it does, and there's no need to rush, and that things will happen when they happen, and that you're in the right place at the right time, and that you're making the right decisions with the information that you have. Like, all of that's super important for you as a person. So the hummingbird with joy. These tiny birds aren't just fast, they're also exceptionally agile, able to fly backward, forward, and sideways. The hummingbird's wings alone can flap around 70 times each second. Experiencing joy is not constant, and it is not a destination we arrive at. It is a process, and it is found in fleeting moments that move as fast as the hummingbird's wings. You won't be happy all the time, that's normal. You won't know what joy is if you have nothing to compare it to. This card is a beacon of current or soon to come rays of joy. Soak them up while they are there. Our happiest moments seem to find us when we are moving quickly, unable to slow down and appreciate them. Stop and look around. Yeah, dude. Your time is gonna come. Things are going to get a lot better once you're able to um move out of this and into a different space, both like literally, like physically and emotionally. And I think the compassion for yourself is a really good way to look at this, because it's gonna be like a really wonky, disjointed journey where you're gonna be like learning things and moving things and understanding things at different times and different rates. And I just want to assure you that you're not going to be given anything that you can't handle. So don't fret about that. And you're not going to experience anything that you can't handle. And you're not going to learn anything that you can't handle. Like everything that you're being given, that you're being shown, that you're learning, that you're doing is meant for you on your path. It's very specific to you and your goals. This lineage that you've been born into, the disjointing between you and your father, like I don't want to say it's predestined, but like the way in which it has come to fruition is one of the ways in which it came to fruition. And in that way, it's going to teach you exactly what you need in order for your own karmic sort of destiny to be fulfilled. um, I hope that makes sense. If you loved this reading, if you want to tell me about what you got from the reading, I would really enjoy it. My name is Angelina. Of course, I'm the proprietor of Your Authenticity Witch. I do Reiki, Akashic Record Healing. I do tarot. I do spiritual coaching. I got a workbook. I got worksheets. I'm the bomb. I also do personal readings on Etsy. Links will be where they always are. Please interact with this video in whatever way you want, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Welcome to pile number 2. If you chose this pile, it is the yellow fluorite pile. That's right, pile number 2 is the yellow fluorite pile. And of course, it is how to heal the relationship with my father. Today we have the 8 of Cups, the 7 of Wands, the Moon, the Star, the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Pentacles, the 4 of Cups, and also the World. Vibe of the reading. Something is happening. Let me adjust this. There I am. Something is happening. And you're gonna be like, what's happening? And I'm gonna tell you. So, what's interesting is like, a cycle is coming to an end. Things are moving in a direction of like closing a door and another one's opening. Like you have learned a lesson with the World and the Ace of Pentacles both being here. I thought that was a really unique combination, and it is. The World, of course, is the completing of a cycle, but in the addition of the Ace of Pentacles, that is even further recognition that a cycle is ending. And the Ace of Pentacles can mean manifestation and abundance, of course. So, what are we manifesting? What do we want to have abundance? Is it this financial opportunity? No. It's going to be the relationship with your father. I get the vibe of this reading that the person is older, like older than me, potentially my parents' age, of the boomer age, or potentially just a Gen X. I feel like there has just been a dark night of the soul scenario, and the um the cycle that has been completed is you dealing with your emotions on these characters. I think what happened is the upbringing that you sustained, I'm getting like, was one of an immigrant's upbringing, where they literally came to this country and you had to be the person in the family that spoke the language, helped them understand and integrate into the world. Because of the age that you were, like, I think you were already like 7 or 8 when they came here. You weren't like, you are a citizen, of course, but like, you weren't born here. You all immigrated to this country. So I think there's going to be a lot of repair that needs to happen between you and your parents, because where they thought they were just trying their best to allow you to acclimate and understand how to live in America, you really felt like you were the parent, and because of that, it has led to some fracturing in your relationship. And the period of reflection has been very, very long, like a decade of you finding yourself and understanding who you want to be and how you want to behave. And now I'm seeing that you're in a position of gratitude where you want to come back to these people and repair your relationship with them, because you had a very fractured understanding of what their um, intentions were, and of how they understood what the world was. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Um, so that's the cycle that I think is ending. There has been a lot of personal conflict for you in regard to understanding what it is that you want and how to get there. Um, the struggle has led you to understand what you want and how to get there. You potentially have your own children and you want to, I don't know if you want to have them interact with these people as grandchildren, or if you recognize that you don't want to leave, you don't want them to leave the world without having some sense of a repaired relationship with you. And it's not too late. Like, it isn't too late. They are wanting you to do the same. There is, in my opinion, going to be a little bit of like an awkward phase where it's almost like you're going to be dating your parents, because so much time has passed without the intimacy and understanding of your lifestyle and your dynamic and your children and your spouse, all of these things, and your hobbies, and all of these things that make you a whole human being, things that I feel like they didn't have access to because they were immigrants and had to focus so much on being a breadwinner once they got here. And they really came here for the American dream of like financial stability rather than the freedom to be authentic and have motivation and all of those things. So I keep saying they because it's almost as if your mother and your father don't act independently of one another, and because of that inability to act independently, they sort of feel the same and think the same and talk the same and walk the same. And I get the impression that you actually were a little more buddy buddy with your dad than your mom. There was always just sort of like a little bit of a weird thing between the two of you. But that is again being repaired. So I want to talk about this moon and star card and tell you that these are your parents. And this to me is their their mind. Okay. Um, one is suspicious and clever and intuitive and like a problem solver, and is always like ready with information. and the other one is really joyful and bubbly, and they sort of cancel out each other and balance one another. So, like, when this is way too high and going off the rails, the star is able to come in and sort of block it from getting out of hand. And when the star is getting really out of hand, the moon is kind of here to again block it from getting out of hand. So, in that way, the two of them really balance each other and give themselves the ability to succeed. Like, they are, and I don't know why this matters, but like, they are the soul mates. Like, they were meant to find each other and have you and bring you to America, and like, you all are here together doing what you should be doing. And the repair of your relationship is honestly kind of a surprise um for you, because I don't think that you had necessarily ever intended to do that. In regard to, are you okay? Do you have loose connections? No, you seem to be fine. Sorry. Sorry. She has some stones, and I was like, are the stones loose? But I'm just hallucinating. In regard to this eight, there's going to be a mourning period for all of you because of the time that was lost. I don't know if you've been no contact for this amount of time, or if it has just been very businesslike, but there is a lot of hurt feelings on both ends, and the conflict of you reuniting and wanting to be there again is going to cause a lot of heartache between all of you, and there's the potentiality that you're going to have to revisit old wounds with one another and talk about these things. And though your parents may have seemed really brusque um, and unemotional, they have wells of those emotions and depth of feeling and desire to connect, just like all people do. And I think that even though they're quite old, you will find that they have softened and that they are ready for this repair. Um, Especially if they're in the way of approaching their last Saturn return. I hate to bring Saturn into this, but legit, bro, he is the guy that helps us deal with our personality and our intuition and our emotions and our and all of the things that we fucking fuck up because we're humans. This could be a really big piece of the puzzle for them and give them like what they need to close chapters and feel stable. So there is in your mind right now the idea to go forward and do this. And they feel it already. Even if you haven't said anything to them or spoken to them, there is a very bizarre bond between the three of you that is um, uh, like you're psychically linked or whatever, and that is cluing them in on the fact that this shift has happened within you, and they're expecting to hear from you. They're expecting for you to call, they're expecting for you to reach out, to email, like however it is that they like to be in contact with. They are expecting that. So the thought in your mind can be put to paper, for lack of a better term, whenever you're ready. And there's no pressure on their end, because, and I mean this so sincerely, and I know that this is a wild thing to say, but they will not die without this repair. So even if they're old, and I mean wicked old, you have a hot second, but don't sleep on it. You know, you're wasting time in fear and not being sure if what you think is a blessing is actually a blessing. And I urge you to look at this as a blessing, because not only will you be rewarded from the work that you've done and how that can pass on to the relationship that you have with them, but so will your family that you've built without them. and it's going to be like really special. It's going to be really special, and I think you're going to be really proud of yourself and really delighted. Now they've given you just a bunch of oracle cards, so many. So let's get into it. We have the seahorse with duty. We have the falcon with success. We have kookaburra with partnership. We have the hawk, damn, with messages. Bruh, you got two. That's actually wild. Okay, damn, and you have three birds already? Okay, okay, okay. You have the lion with bravery. You have the pack. I'm sorry, you have, yes, you have the pack with the word tribe. You have walrus with vulnerability, and you have scorpion with passion. So I just want to say before I look at the rest of the cards like in the book and tell you the things that the book wants you to know, the fact that you have two of these birds, this falcon and this hawk showing up is really, really big. You are receiving information to move forward on this in such a way that it is like a hot, burning ember trying to get you to take action, buddy. And that's probably what part of this fire is about, like the conflict that creates the fire of success. And so I hope that you're listening. I hope that you find this reading. I hope that you're taking action because you really deserve it. You deserve it so much, and I want it for you. I'm passing every other thing except for the one I want. Okay, so the hawk with messages. The hawk sees color better than we do. Their sharp vision uh, lets them hone in on prey. They are a sign to use all of your instincts and open your eyes to see the whole spectrum. What messages are others sending to you? Sending a message isn't the same as communicating. Messages are sent with specific goals and a recipient in mind. It is more than just what someone says. Messages are found in how someone says something, their body language, and their overall actions. Are someone's words not matching up with their messages they are sending you? Consider that your actions and words are sending mixed messages to others. The hawk urges you to use the full capacity of your keen vision to see all the colors as they really are. So, yeah, I mean, like, for sure, discernment, but I also feel like this is about not only listening to messages, but making sure that when you are really ready to take this step into this repair, that you have all of your intentions in mind for what you want out of this, because it would be a shame for you to step into this without you actually being ready to step into it. Which I think is the thing about the the body language that's pretty important. So let's look at this falcon with success. The falcon is known for perching high up on cliffs and tall structures to gain a better view of their surroundings. Consider that perhaps you haven't positioned yourself in the best possible places for the advantage. Success requires that you set your sights on a high perch, whatever that means to you. You must be aware of the opportunities available to you in order to make your move. The guide encourages you to look around and find the highest perch. From there, you can aim higher and shoot farther. Don't settle for what you see on the ground. There is plenty that moves above your head, but how will you catch it if you don't know it's there? Yeah, so I also feel like, potentially, I know I mentioned about they're equal, they're very compatible, they're very one balancing the other. These are also very intuitively connected cards, and I suspect that that is what is playing into this whole bird situation. Um, and you are probably feeling that already, and I assume that you've had your own um experiences with intuition and understanding, and that potentially that is being interplayed into all of this. We're actually going to do the walrus next. The walrus with vulnerability. Okay. Vulnerability. Vulnerability is unachievable with a million layers between you and the world around you. The walrus possesses a thick, fatty lining that protects them from the cold. Their blubber also acts as a guard of protection between them and predators that roam their freezing terrain. This animal enters your reading when the lining between you and the outside world has grown a little too thick. Are you too guarded and afraid to be vulnerable? A trade off occurs when you open yourself up to the world. Yeah, dog, it's time. I think you've healed the layers. I think you're ready to expose things. I think it's time. There's no reason to wait. There's no reason to wait. Okay, we're gonna do Scorpion next. It's literally the only S1 and you blew right. Oh, you know why? It's because I don't know the alphabet. There we are. I literally thought the S was gonna be the very last one in the book. Yeah. So, you know what? There's no zebra. And that's the only animal that starts with a Z. Why didn't they? I mean, it's not the only animal that starts with a Z. Okay, sorry. Back to your reading. Okay. This scorpion with passion. Here it is. Do you see it? Passion means getting to the point. If there's one thing the scorpion has, it's a sharp point. With pincers and a stinger, this arachnid is always prepared to strike at what they want. Get to the point of what you want, love, and care about. When you know, proceed with passion and ambition. The Scorpion card comes to combat your apathy. You aren't being asked to care about everything. You are being asked to discover what sparks your passion, what challenges you and pushes you. What do you find yourself talking about, thinking about, and imagining? If you aren't already doing it, the Scorpion asks you to start. If you care enough, if you want it enough, you'll make it happen. Okay? Make it happen. I don't think there's anything else going on in this card. I don't think it's about your hobbies or your desires in your like creative life. I think it's genuinely about this repair with your relationship, and I think that potentially um that work of repairing has a lot to do with how that passion in your life is going to play, because I feel like things are going really well, but there's been sort of a downturn in that positiveness because you haven't healed the one thing that needs to be healed. Okay. Let's talk about the lion with bravery. Well, now I feel so. Yes. Focused lion. Okay. The lion. Okay. This apex predator isn't just a brave hunter, but a brave mother also. The lioness the lioness not only will defend her cubs with her life, but a pride of lionesses will work together to care for their young, taking a communal childcare approach. Rely on, love, and support your pride. Bravery is always executed best with kindness and empathy. Don't blaze ahead mindlessly. This card is a message to proceed with love and grace, and you will prosper. If you have the option to use tenderness or force, you would be better to do it with softness. Find bravery through maturity and dignity. Dog, you fucking got this. They sent you so many cards to let you know that you've got this. It's kind of ridiculous. Like I've done this is my second this I think that you have You have the most oracle cards out of every single pick a pile that's going to be in this video today, because they really want to see you moving forward, and they're just trying to assure you in whatever way you can. Okay. So the seahorse with duty. Have you been hatching escape plans? The seahorse calls you to stop drifting away from your duties. Knowing or unknowingly, you are beginning to float away. This card asks you to keep back on track. The seahorse is surprisingly a relatively weak swimmer despite being an ocean animal. Instead, they get by with their prehensile tail that anchors onto seagrass and coral. Where have you thrown down your anchor? What is your duty to where you have landed? The Seahorse Guide urges you to make the most of where you are. Feel a sense of pride and commitment to your current situation rather than looking around for what's next. Concentrate on fulfilling your duty and obligations, bruh, because like I really feel like I really feel like this is the last thing on your to-do list, and you, out of fear, are just waiting for the absolute last minute to start on this because you think it's way bigger than it is. You think it's way bigger than it is. Okay. So, in regard to the Kookaburra and the partnership aspect, I think this is about you and your current partner, and how they can support you in moving forward to this. I assume you've already talked to them and clued them in on the situation. If you haven't, now would be a great time to do that because you are going to need their support and guidance and love to make the first fucking move, because your parents aren't going to do it. Okay, if you've been wishing and hoping and praying that they're going to do it, they're not going to do it. It's up to you. Think about what you give and what you are willing and anticipating to accept and return. The kookaburra is known to be a friendly bird that adjusts well to the presence of people, even enjoying being fed by hand. All partnerships work best when you are willing to accept from others. Giving without taking doesn't make you generous. Generosity has to be coupled with reciprocity to flourish. The kookaburra can arrive in your reading when to partner well with someone or something, you must readjust your attitude towards receiving. When a hand reaches out to you, don't say no. Trust others fully and allow them to give to you. Accept help and let it work towards a team effort. It's more fulfilling that way. Additionally, okay, so the hawk is the other person. So there's these things, there's like the ecosystem and other cards are in that, and the hawk is also in this. The hawk, this predator signals that a partner may have a message for you. Look out for unspoken cues. It could also be that you are indirectly sending messages to others. Is there something you are saying without words? So, um, additionally, just because your parents are open and ready to receive, and want to rekindle, that doesn't mean that they're suddenly going to be different people. There are still going to be old tricks and ways, and that is just what it is. And you can be firm and set boundaries and explain things, but that doesn't always mean that it will not bother you, and you just have to accept that that is what's happening. They're old, they're not completely different people. Okay? If you aren't spending time and energy activating your circle, you may find yourself the lone wolf. This guy can come when you are warding off unknowingly or intentionally. Within the pack, the Omega Wolf is the lowest in the hierarchy. The Omega Wolf can be picked on, and if picked on too much, will abandon the tribe, preferring to go alone. I feel like we should probably just call it pack. If you are feeling discontent or dissatisfied with those around you, this card suggests that it's time to walk away. The people that you spend time with or energy on are reflections of you and what you value. If you lack the love, support, and solidarity you need, you are responsible for communicating to those around you. But if howling to your crew doesn't change the actions and feelings, consider that it may be that it may not be the place for you. So, to me, this card speaks more about your mental attitude more than how you fit in um, with the people around you, because I feel like your relationship is going well, and I feel like your parents' relationship is going well, and that even though it's going to be rocky when everyone rekindles, it is still going to go well. Um, and I mean, of course, there's always the potential that things don't go the way that are planned, but like I don't see this like blowing up in your face or whatever. And so I kind of just feel like this is more emotional and about how you have been too self-reliant on things as far as keeping to yourself and not allowing not allowing your partner to see your internal monologue or relationship when it comes to the way that you think and feel about your parents, because I feel like you met this partner and started your life with them and had your children with them with your parents out of the picture, and because you haven't really opened up about what it has been like for you to be the child of an immigrant, that you don't, this person has no foundation for understanding that aspect of your life, which is a huge portion of your life. And so when you say to them, I want to rekindle my relationship with my parents, they're not going to understand why. And you have to be willing to be vulnerable and brave and explain things to them. And you know, it's about to be Mother's Day and Father's Day next month, and I wonder if because of those traditional holidays, you are thinking about your role in the life of your parents. So I do feel like things are generally shifting in a positive place for you, that you are going to do really great things with healing this relationship, and it's going to help you emotionally in a really positive way. And so any fear that you're feeling about moving forward can absolutely just work on quelling it, you know, doing some like white light meditations, bringing other people in so that they can be in your court sort of situation, and then, you know, take the actions, because like I said, they're waiting to hear from you. And if you all are connected psychically, and the thing about messages and success between all of these birds, I really feel like there have been things floating around that you know that are potentially from them, and vice versa. That has been unspoken communication that you are ready to rekindle things. So yeah, so that's all I have for pile number 2. If you enjoyed this reading or have comments on it, please say something to me in the comments down below. If you want any other of my sick ass psychic services, I'm Angelina of Your Authenticity Witch. I do Reiki, I do Akashic Record healing, I do personal tarot readings on Etsy, or we can do a video call on my website. And I also have a spiritual coaching program, and I wrote a workbook for it. So links will be where they always are. Please interact with this video in any way that you see fit, and I'll see you next time. Bye! It's pile number 3. Pile number 3 is the Garnet. Pile number 3 is the Garnet. So if you chose the Garnet, that's pile number 3. Yeah, let's get into it. So the 9 of Wands, the 10 of Swords, the 5 of Wands, the Lovers, the Sun, the King of Cups, and Temperance. So, boy, I feel like your dad is in jail. He either is in jail currently, was in jail, or has spent jail time in the past. And by was in jail, I mean was very recently in jail. Hold on, I gotta turn my fan on. Me just hoping the microphone is on, always. The wands and the swords and the wands, this is such a weird representation of prison, literal prison and emotional prison. I am shocked to see it. But something has changed. Like the time in prison has made this person anew. I don't know what kind of crimes bro was in for, but whatever they were in for, they're out now. So, I mean, this is like dizzying, sorry. This is like dizzying emotional information, right? Unable to see what's next, unable to have a clear impression on things, unable to really like psychically wrap around the thing that we're seeing in front of them. So I feel like this and this are kind of working on the same sort of front where hold on one second again, where this is sort of the representation of the crime period. Fast-paced life, really exciting, a lot of fire behind it, a crew that supports him, just the ability to envision and execute the crime, but not so well that he couldn't get away with paying the time. And that's cool because there was a lot of internal conflict that had to go on in. So, like, imagine this is like group conflict, and the group that we're conflicting with, the internal mechanism of the group where there is conflict is really about the people that he was involved with in his crime days. And for whatever reason, I don't think that they all ended up in prison with him. So the prison ended up being a place of reflection and respite. Like, bro went in feeling hard, but he didn't come out of prison feeling hard. There had to be a very intense amount of agony and reflection that went on once he was behind bars, because that meant that his family completely walked away from him. Like, for whatever reason, maybe whatever the crime was, there was a decision that took place saying, once you do this, we can't support you and you have to climb your way back from this situation. And for you, pile number 3, there has been a longing to recommit with this person for quite a while. I think that you were young when this happened, and nobody really talked about it to the fullest extent that it needed to be reasoned with because they thought you were too young to understand the complexity of the situation, which has left you also feeling battered and bruised, also having some of this going on for your own sake, and the extent that it has damaged your relationship with your family because it is almost like you've had to choose sides between the person that did go to prison and the people that are outside of prison, and there has been a lot of unnecessary hate that's being thrown around that has really made it hard for you to see the forest for the trees. So, your opinion on the situation, you have been unable to form one that isn't um, being influenced by everyone around you, which in your regard to this card, if you're experiencing this card, this is what all of those swords are for you. It is the opinion and the people around you who have been telling you potentially that your father is trash and that he doesn't deserve a time of day. However, prison has been incredibly rehabilitative for him in a way that we always hear about those success stories where people go away and they potentially get a degree and they found Jesus, or prison turned them around, they were able to calm down, etc., etc. Those things have happened for him, in the extent that he went into prison and came out a changed man. So when it comes to the King of Cups, this dude is all about being emotionally balanced and compassionate and diplomatic. And I feel like he had this person in there with him, allowing him to use prison for his advantage and instead of allowing it to take him down the commitment of more crime. I feel like there has been time in this person's life where they've been out of prison for a hot second now, and they've used the tools that they learned as far as like team building and communication and conflict resolution and like organization and management. Like all of those things are innate skills that this person had, and they were really brought forth in this prison element because of the way that prison was for them. And there is now like this force shining upon them where they're like in their redemption period. They've gone through the tower moment, for lack of a better term, and they've come out a changed person. So if there was a time where you wanted to develop a more in-depth relationship with them, now would be the time. And I think that you're looking for an in because the rest of your family still isn't interested. And I get the impression that you're like kind of young still, like a teenage age, like 16, 17 years old, and there's still this desire to like protect your innocence. But you're not innocent because your dad went to prison when you were a young child. So the people in your family have thought that you're stupid. And that's really made everything between all of you disjointed. And I think that your impression now is that the one person that you will find kinship with is your father, if only you can find a way to contact them. So, does he have an uncle or a friend that you know that he knows that might be an avenue for you, someone that you trust and that you know is not a fucking creep, like that can be an avenue of connectedness for you? Because I feel like your family does have a way to contact him, but the amount of snooping that you would have to do would get you into trouble. So like I don't want to tell you to go snoop, but I also feel like if you ask questions that you're not going to get answers and that it's going to cause you more trouble than maybe you would like. Now, in reference to the Temperance card, there is just a regular thing there. This for a minute there looks like a face. I've been watching too much paranormal stuff. There is like a balance being restored in your life and in his life when you can reconnect and rekindle. There's the potentiality that you will have to wait until you are technically legal age in order to repair this relationship. Because your family feels like it's better for you not to be involved in order to repair this relationship, which I um, think sucks, but you can't control the actions and thoughts of others. So I just want to assure you that the time is in fact coming for the two of you to rekindle your relationship and have the bond that you have been hoping for, and that it is just like gonna be a really joyful time. And I don't want you to feel like time is running out, because it isn't running out on either of your ends. It's not running out. There's going to be plenty of time. In reference to the lovers cards, this is about the two of you rekindling your relationship and having the ability to be a child father and have that relationship, one that you've always wanted. And now he's in a position to be that father figure for you when he wasn't in that position all those years ago. Because, like I said, prison has really given him the tools that he needed to um, be emotionally intelligent and calm and supportive. Now, he's still going to be dealing with his own things, because even though prison is good, it's not good. So he's still going to be dealing with his own things, but that doesn't mean that there won't be space for you. So don't panic. Like I said, things are coming to a really good conclusion for all of you, and I think that if you aren't able to reach out to him, he will reach out to you. I don't know if you're in the demographic that uses Facebook, but he probably is. So I would think about that. I would think about that for sure. So we have the weasel with flexibility. We have the ostrich with impulsivity. We have the garden snail with isolation. We have the blue whale with inspiration. We have the peacock with confidence. And we have the crocodile with repression. Where are you? There you are. Let's look at the crocodile first. Just as the crocodile shifts beneath the water, giving itself away with only penetrating eyes, this card points to the stealthy emergence of what once lay deep within. Something once sedentary is rising to the surface. You may feel it already, or perhaps the issue you face is uh and this book is written so silly sometimes, because it literally says you feel it already, or perhaps the issue you face is be an uneasy enemy. Or perhaps the issue you face is an unseen enemy startling you from behind. Try to prevent yourself from being blindsided by repressed energy. You are being asked to do emotional homework. When you take on the task of diving deep into your own psyche, you negate the potential for destructive thoughts and emotions to catch you off guard. What could you be guessing? Try to take off any blinders that you may be wearing, because something is likely to be lurking around the corner of your mind. Um, yeah, absolutely. So I think potentially what will be happening in reference to this repression angle is you sorting through the emotions that your family has impressed upon you, and then your own emotions that you have dealt with since he went away for you at such a young age. And I think that that will be quite an exciting journey for you, because I imagine as well that he has felt similar things in regard to potentially like guilt, or shame, or abandonment, things that have plagued him away, because I really do feel like the two of you are sharing this, these deep wounds, that there are some things that are cross pollinating, that are absolutely going to be common ground for you all to have a conversation about. So I would urge you that when the repairing starts, there isn't any hesitancy in being vulnerable and sharing what needs to be said on your end, because only honesty will allow an authentic conversation. And of course, you take that as quickly or as slowly as you need to. Next, we're going to do the weasel with flexibility. So the weasel is one flexible animal, so flexible, in fact, that it lives pretty much all over the world from South America to Japan. You name it, they are there. When your habitat changes, are you able to adapt or thrive? Or when things change, do you become stiff and stubborn? The weasel enters your reading when flexibility will be a necessity if you want to make it through the many curves and bends in the road ahead. If you can only move in one direction, you won't get there. The path ahead requires nuance to traverse sharp turns. Don't get too attached to one place. Be ready and willing to chart a new course. So, this again is all about flexibility in your emotional mindset and the capacity to handle the very real changes that will take place for you emotionally when you begin to rekindle this work. And I hate to say it, but rekindle this relationship and the work it will take to do that emotionally. But I hate to say it as well, as that, like, the fact that your family didn't talk to you about this and treated you like you were stupid and didn't allow you to have contact with him at all really impacted you so deeply emotionally that it's going to be hard for you to do that work. And I think that there's probably pent up anger that you're gonna have to deal with on both sides for everyone in your family. And if you need help, consider going to therapy, because it will probably be helpful, especially if you are young, but not even if you're young, just in general, because you will you will require the perspective for yourself to just understand things in a new and better way. And there's no shame in therapy. So again, if that has been something that has been talked to you, or that you've been talked down to about, don't fucking listen to any of those naysayers. All right, so now we're doing the garden snail with isolation. Um, so the garden snail slowly inches into your reading to tell you that you have been curled up in your shell, perhaps literally or emotionally. You have retreated into isolation. Snails have shells for a reason. What is underneath the shell is soft and squishy, vulnerable and defenseless. What piece of yourself are you protecting, and what have you crafted into a formidable and repelling exterior? So your the way okay so like the way that your family treat has handled emotions about the situation, and your emotions in general, to me, from what I'm getting, is has made you feel like you're not allowed to have emotions about anything, and that has made you fucking shrink back into yourself, creating just like a feedback loop where you're trying to solve all your own problems, and you're trying to be your own parent, you're trying to be your own emotional support system, you're trying to be somebody who can logic and reason out of their emotions, and you just can't. And the reason why therapy would be good in that case is because you will be able to understand how dangerous that is and how much it's mm, making you feel more guilt and shame and create the pattern of isolation for yourself, um, that will be your downfall, because that's going to spread into many areas of your life beyond this situation. And when we think about building larger relationships, I suspect that there could be distrust of others in the emotional realm, and you finding it hard to build relationships with people with intimacy, vulnerability, and authenticity because you weren't given that chance and you were taught that those things about yourself are not valued in this space. I do feel, however, that your father figure, that your father is going to be a very different version of the parent that you had hoped to had when you were younger. And it is going to feel like a breath of fresh air. It is going to feel very joyful. It is going to feel very sunny and wonderful. But that doesn't mean that you can escape the work that you have to do. So I'm urging you to do the work that you have to do, because if not, it's going to cause problems in all areas of your life. Because when one thing is off, all the other things are off because we're compensating for that area being off. So let's do the blue whale with inspiration. I know it's water, but it looks like he's chiefing some weed. Okay. Yes. Okay, while the blue whale takes food in through their mouth, they breathe out through their blowhole. This releases gas and bacteria as they rise up to the water's surface. This process reminds us that release is just as important as intake. Perhaps it isn't that you aren't inspired, but that you don't know what to do with the inspiration you have. When we create healthy outlets for ourselves and clear the pipes, we release pressure and make room and take in more around us. Consider what you are not that you are not lacking anything, but you just require a moment of exhale. How do you let the steam off when pressure builds up? Hmm. So I'm getting the vibe that creativity in this process is going to be very important because it's going to allow you for emotional expression. So maybe art therapy would be super cool, or if you have a creative hobby that you're already invested in, and I have a feeling you do, and that you potentially keep it secret, that that would be a really good way to start investing in not only building the relationship with yourself, but then allowing that to be an avenue for emotional expression and letting the steam off. So I think that inspiration card is the opposite of the repression card in my opinion as the tarot reader here. Let's do the peacock next with confidence. The peacock that looks bold and confident wasn't born with its magnificent feathers on display. These birds don't grow their feathers until several years old. Developing confidence is a lifelong process, and no matter where you are in your journey, there is always work to be done. No one will buy a product that not even a salesman wants. The peacock asks you to believe in yourself. If you are in a period of self doubt, it is time to start acknowledging your worth. You are being pushed to release negative perceptions about yourself and be proud of who you are. There is something in your life waiting for you to believe that you are worthy of it. No one can convince you of it but you. Yes. 100 times yes, 100 million times yes. You have a lot of work to do. That whole paragraph that I read plays into every single element of your life that this has impacted. And when you, and I know I just like keeping vague about it, but it's like you will know what areas of your life it has impacted when you sit down to do like the pattern identification to figure out how this has messed you up with your emotions and your relationships and all of the good things that we get to experience as a human being. So next we're going to do the ostrich with impulsivity. Ostrich, impulsivity. If you have any sudden urges or ideas, sit upon them for a few days. The ostrich incubates their eggs by sitting on them for over a month before they finally hatch. What are you sitting on top of? Whatever it may be, the ostrich says it's not likely ready, and the best course of action now is to wait. This doesn't mean that you have to. This doesn't mean that you have in. This doesn't mean that what you have in the works isn't positive or beneficial. It just means it needs a little more time. Ask yourself what's causing you to itch. What is making you want to act now when there could be another time to act on the situation? This ostrich encourages you to ward off impulsive actions by quieting down your mind and letting your instincts guide you. When you are adequately in tune with your inner voice, you will be able to make a move, not out of impulse, but when the timing is right. And no, sorry, the other card had the lion in it, and I was about to read you something that doesn't apply to you. It kind of does. Reflect on what is causing you to act impulsive. Is it fear or anxiety? It takes a great deal of bravery to stave off anxious and impulsive decisions. So to me, again, as the tarot reader, I would say that there is a really big desire to act right now because things feel really miserable where you are. There is some stagnation happening that is making you feel kind of stir crazy. And like, if you don't get out of where you are and you don't start building this relationship and you don't start repairing your emotions and you don't start taking steps back from your toxic family and you don't start on the road to redemption with everyone around you, however that definition of road to redemption might mean to you, that you are going to wither away into dust. And I promise you, dear pile number 3, you're not going to wither away into dust. It would be better for you to decide what your motive is on moving, and then decide how you want to act. Make a plan, talk to somebody. Fucking fuck guidance counselors, though. What are they gonna do? Tell you how to go to school? Talk to somebody. I was gonna say talk to a guidance counselor, but I don't actually know if they can do anything for you, like as a person. That will enable you to feel like you have a semblance of control. Because really, what I think is going to happen is that you're going to need to have balance over your emotions, and that because you have been so restricted on your depth of feeling, that when you um encounter other emotions in the process of reconnecting and the process of healing yourself from your trauma, it's going to be really scary for you in a way that you didn't expect. And you're going to need support and understanding from people who are truly, truly in your corner. And that might be a little difficult to find if you are only around your family and you have a hard time making connections, or you don't have the allowance to make connections with people outside of your family. I don't know if the people in your life are religious, but I think that that might be a component to this somewhere. So, yeah, that's all that I have for this reading. Thank you so much for sticking around. My name is Angelina, and I'm the proprietor of Your Authenticity Witch. I do Reiki, I do tarot readings, I do spiritual coaching. I have a workbook and worksheets that are very helpful. I also do Akashic record healing. If you're interested in any of that or having a conversation with me, I will put the links where they always are. Please interact with this video in whatever way you want to. If it left an impression on you, I would love to know it. Anyways, that's all I have for today. Thank you. Bye.